Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, translated ancient wisdom into the language of results. He didn't wear robes, nor did he speak in parables. He spoke of goals, persistence, and the power of mastering one's thoughts. But what most people don't realize is that everything he taught has its roots in Proverbs. Now picture this. What if I told you there's a pattern for attracting wealth, inner strength, and clarity of purpose? A pattern revealed thousands of years ago by Solomon, considered the wisest and richest man in history? What if I showed you that the discipline you lack, the direction you've been searching for, and the strength to conquer yourself are all written there, verse by verse? You don't need to chase after secret formulas anymore. The key has always been there, hidden in plain sight, misinterpreted for centuries. And my mission here is to reveal what no one has ever explained to you before. Because Proverbs was not written as poetry for dreamers, it was written as a manual for leaders, for those who want to master themselves and govern their lives with wisdom. So pay close attention, because this could mark the turning point of your life. And it all begins now with one sentence that may sound simple, but carries the seed of all transformation. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, Proverbs 1:7. But what does it really mean to fear God? Is it to live in panic? To walk in constant dread? To fear God means to live in reverence toward a higher order. It is to respect the invisible principles that govern the universe. It is to align your mind with truth. Napoleon Hill called this infinite intelligence. When you act with discipline, with faith that moves you to action, with ethics and direction, you are fearing the Lord. You are activating wisdom. And where wisdom operates, prosperity follows. Now listen carefully, because this is for those who are tired of starting and stopping, tired of making promises and never keeping them, tired of wishing and never accomplishing. Proverbs 25:28 says, "Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control." This isn't just a poetic metaphor, it's a warning. It's as if God himself were saying, if you don't master yourself, anything can destroy you. One word can shake you. One criticism can stop you. One temptation can bring you down. Think about it. Would you build an empire on cracked foundations? Of course not. So why try to build wealth with an undisciplined mind? Napoleon Hill was clear. Before you can conquer the world, you must first conquer your own mind. And that is exactly what Solomon declared throughout Proverbs. Wealth doesn't begin with money, it begins with self-government. And self-government doesn't come from fleeting motivation, it comes from habit. You don't need to wake up inspired every day, you need to become stronger than your impulses. Proverbs 6:6-8 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." This is the noble discipline, acting when no one is watching, when no one is forcing you, when the reward seems far away. It teaches us something powerful. Success has no audience. The true builders of wealth work in silence, guided by an inner code, while the lazy wait for orders and waste their lives. Hill called this personal initiative and persistence. The Bible calls it wisdom and the fear of the Lord. But the outcome is the same. The world bows to those who govern themselves. Now imagine how much your life would change if you mastered your impulses for just 30 days. If you silenced procrastination, overcame laziness, and forced your soul to obey your mission. That one shift could bring a harvest greater than anything you've ever imagined. And it begins with a single choice: to be greater than your immediate desires. Picture yourself at sea, surrounded by fog, with no compass, no map, no direction. That's how life feels for those who ignore the wisdom of Proverbs. Because wealth without direction becomes waste, strength without direction turns into destruction, and dreams without direction end in frustration. Proverbs 3:6 says, "In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." This is more than a beautiful verse. It is a spiritual and mental mechanism. Solomon is warning us, if you don't know where you're going, every road will seem right until years later you realize you've been walking in circles. And here's what Napoleon Hill discovered after analyzing the wealthiest and most successful men of history. Without exception, they all shared one thing in common: absolute clarity of purpose. They knew exactly what they wanted, where they were going, and what they were willing to sacrifice to get there. Hill called this definiteness of purpose. Solomon called it the path of the righteous. But here's the hard truth. If you don't decide firmly what you want in life, life will decide for you, and it usually decides through pain, scarcity, and regret. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." This does not mean simply praying and waiting. It means aligning your plan with his principles, acting with clarity, truth, and courage. Because a plan without action is nothing more than intention, and intention doesn't change destiny. Only decisions do. Decisions that demand sacrifice, that pull you out of comfort, that shape you into something stronger. Stop for a moment and look at your life. Where are you lacking direction? Where have you been vague, soft, indecisive? Because until you firmly decide what you want, you'll be controlled by every distraction, every emotion, every criticism, every temptation. The world belongs to those who live with clarity. God guides those who are willing to walk, and the universe bends in favor of those who act with purpose, faith, discipline, and persistence. If you truly want to change your life, don't start by waiting for a miracle. Start by deciding. And once you decide, don't retreat. Now let's talk about something most people refuse to face. Discipline is not a punishment, it is freedom. Proverbs makes this clear again and again. Proverbs 12:1 says, "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid." Strong words, aren't they? Solomon is blunt because he knows the truth. Those who despise correction, who reject discipline, condemn themselves to ignorance, and ignorance costs more than discipline ever will. Napoleon Hill taught the same principle. People fail not because of lack of opportunity, but because of lack of self-discipline. They want results without paying the price, success without sacrifice, harvest without planting. But here's the secret. Every act of discipline builds invisible wealth. Each time you say no to laziness, no to distraction, no to impulses, you are building a wall around your city, protecting your destiny, strengthening your empire. On the other hand, every time you give in, you open a breach in your walls. One small habit tolerated becomes a thief that steals your future. That's why Solomon insists. Proverbs 13:4 says, "The sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied." Do you see the contrast? The lazy man desires, but gets nothing. Why? Because desire without discipline is only daydreaming. But the diligent, the one who acts, who persists, who obeys the call of discipline, this one sees his desires fulfilled. Hill summarized it this way: desire backed by faith and persistence knows no such word as impossible. But Proverbs had already declared it centuries before. Diligence is the key that unlocks dreams. So ask yourself, do you just crave or are you building? Are you living off wishes or are you working in silence as the ant does, storing for the future? Because wealth is not the fruit of chance. It is the fruit of habits repeated daily. Now let's go deeper. Solomon not only talks about discipline, he warns about the company you keep. Because wisdom is not built in isolation. It's shaped by the voices around you. Proverbs 13:20 says, Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Understand this well. Your friendships are a prophecy of your future. You don't rise above the environment you tolerate. If you walk with the lazy, you'll adopt their excuses. If you walk with the fearful, you'll inherit their limitations. But if you walk with the wise, you'll breathe wisdom until it becomes part of you. Napoleon Hill discovered the same truth and gave it a name, the mastermind principle. He realized that every successful person created alliances with others who elevated them, who inspired them, who challenged them to grow. So here's the question. Who surrounds you today? Do they push you forward or do they hold you back? Do they ignite your fire or do they extinguish it? Because whether you accept it or not, your circle is shaping your destiny. And if you need to walk alone for a season, then walk alone. Better to be alone and aligned with wisdom than to be surrounded by fools who corrupt your purpose. Now let's uncover something most people completely misunderstand. Wealth is not just about money, it is about character. Solomon repeats this truth over and over. Proverbs 22:1 says, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." What does this mean? That money without honor is poverty disguised. That gold without integrity is nothing more than a curse, because true prosperity is not measured only by what you accumulate, but by the respect and trust you earn along the way. Napoleon Hill also emphasized this. He taught that riches gained through dishonesty carry the seeds of self-destruction. History proves this. Fortunes built on corruption collapse, reputations built on lies rot, and empires without ethics eventually turn to dust. So Proverbs warns us, seek wisdom first, for wisdom attracts wealth, but wealth without wisdom destroys. And here's something powerful. Proverbs 10:22 says, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it." Notice carefully, it is not saying you won't work. It is saying that when wealth comes aligned with wisdom, it doesn't carry despair, anxiety, and destruction with it. It comes with peace, because money gained without order turns into slavery, but money gained with wisdom turns into freedom. This is where so many people fail. They want shortcuts. They want to skip the process. But Proverbs insists, wealth gained without principles does not last. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." There it is, the law of accumulation, the law of persistence, the law of time. Napoleon Hill translated it as the power of organized planning and persistence. Solomon called it wisdom, but the principle is the same. Small, consistent actions multiplied over time create an unshakable fortune. So understand, character is not just about being good. Character is strategy. Integrity is not only morality, it is protection. It keeps your name clean, your mind free, your path open. You can lose money and regain it, but if you lose your reputation, you lose the foundation of trust, and trust is the true currency of wealth. So build wisely, build with discipline, with justice, with truth, because Solomon knew, and Hill confirmed, that wealth without character is tragedy disguised as success. Now let's go deeper. Proverbs reveals that wisdom is inseparable from justice, and justice is not just about courts or laws. It is about how you conduct yourself in every decision, every relationship, every opportunity. Proverbs 21:3 says, "To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice." Do you understand what this means? It means that integrity is more valuable than rituals. God is not impressed with empty gestures of devotion. He looks at your actions, at your honesty, at the justice that flows from your daily choices. Napoleon Hill discovered the same truth while studying the lives of great entrepreneurs. Long-lasting success is always tied to fairness and service. He called it the principle of going the extra mile, offering more value than what is expected, building wealth through service, not exploitation. And Solomon had already declared this long before. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Here lies one of the greatest secrets of wealth. Generosity is not loss, it is multiplication. When you give, you open channels for abundance to flow back into your life. When you refresh others, you yourself are renewed. But the greedy, they destroy themselves. Proverbs 15:27 says, "The greedy bring ruin to their households, but the one who hates bribes will live." Notice how precise this is. Greed doesn't just harm the individual, it contaminates the family, the household, the legacy. A fortune gained at the cost of justice carries hidden poison. It corrodes relationships, steals peace, and eventually destroys everything. On the other hand, wealth built on justice, generosity, and service becomes a tree of life. It multiplies not just money, but influence, peace, and legacy. Napoleon Hill said it clearly, "You can succeed best and quickest by helping others to succeed." Solomon said it centuries earlier, "Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." So ask yourself, are your decisions today aligned with justice? Are you building only for yourself, or are you building in a way that blesses others too? Because the difference between ruin and prosperity is not in the size of your dream, but in the justice of your path. One of the most powerful themes in Proverbs, and one that Napoleon Hill also emphasized, is the power of words. Your tongue can build or destroy, bless or curse, open doors or close them forever. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Think about that for a moment. Life and death are in the tongue. What you declare, what you repeat, what you affirm day after day, this becomes the fruit you will eventually eat. Napoleon Hill taught the same principle under a different name, autosuggestion. He explained that your subconscious mind is shaped by the words you feed it. Speak failure, and your mind builds failure. Speak faith, speak victory, speak persistence, and your mind creates the conditions to manifest them. But Proverbs had already revealed this truth long ago. Words are seeds. Every sentence you release is a planting, and every harvest you live is the result of what you once declared. That's why Solomon warns. Proverbs 13:3 says, "Those who guard their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin." How many lives have been destroyed not by enemies, but by the words that came from their own mouths? How many relationships have ended? How many businesses have failed? How many opportunities have vanished because of a tongue that wasn't guarded? Napoleon Hill confirmed this in another way. He insisted on the power of definiteness of purpose combined with affirmations. He knew that what you repeat with emotion becomes part of your belief system, and your belief system shapes your reality. So the Bible and modern success philosophy meet at the same point. Master your words and you will master your future. Ask yourself, what are you speaking daily? Are your words building faith, discipline, and purpose? Or are they planting fear, complaint, and limitation? Because your tongue is not neutral, it is a weapon, and whether it builds or destroys depends entirely on how you use it. So guard your lips, align your words with wisdom, and understand this truth. Before wealth manifests in your bank account, it must manifest in your vocabulary. Another truth Proverbs reveals, and that Napoleon Hill also echoed, is the power of emotional control. Wisdom is not only knowing what to do, it is mastering your reactions, keeping your spirit steady while others collapse under pressure. Proverbs 16:32 says, "Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." This is shocking when you think about it. In ancient times, conquering a city meant ultimate power, ultimate glory. Yet Solomon declares that the one who conquers himself is greater than the one who conquers armies. Why? Because external victories mean nothing if you are a prisoner to your anger, your fears, your impulses. Napoleon Hill said the same. If you do not conquer self, you will be conquered by self. Think about it. How many great leaders in history fell not because of external enemies, but because they could not govern their own emotions? Anger, greed, envy, lust, pride. These inner forces have destroyed more empires than all the armies combined. That's why Solomon insists. Proverbs 14:29 says, "Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly." Patience is not weakness. It is power under control. It is the ability to wait, to think, to breathe before acting. It is strength channeled wisely. Napoleon Hill described this in terms of persistence and emotional balance. He observed that success demands the ability to move forward despite fear, to remain calm despite obstacles, to persist despite setbacks. So here is the truth. Your emotions are either your greatest allies or your most destructive enemies. If you govern them, they will fuel your journey. If you let them govern you, they will sabotage everything you build. Ask yourself now, what emotion has been controlling you most lately? Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it doubt? Because until you face it and bring it under discipline, it will keep stealing your victories. The real battle is not outside, it is within. Conquer yourself, and you will see that external victories follow naturally. Now let's talk about wealth, the kind that lasts, the kind that builds a legacy. Proverbs, centuries before modern finance, already revealed the principles that govern true prosperity. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Notice the emphasis: diligence, planning, consistency. Wealth is not born from luck, shortcuts, or impulsive decisions. It is born from steady, thoughtful effort. Napoleon Hill echoed this principle. There is no substitute for persistence, clarity of purpose, and well-directed effort. Solomon also warned about mismanagement. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." True wealth is not just about acquiring, it is about control, responsibility, and wisdom. Debt is a chain, and poor planning can turn even abundant income into ruin. Hill called this financial self-discipline, the habit of controlling your resources instead of being controlled by them. Generosity is another secret that both Hill and Solomon emphasize. Proverbs 11:24-25 says, "One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give, and only suffers want. Whoever brings blessing will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered." Generosity multiplies. Wealth hoarded without purpose shrinks. Wealth shared wisely grows. Those who understand this law are the ones who experience prosperity with peace, not stress. Napoleon Hill studied countless millionaires and found a pattern. The richest people were those who provided value, helped others succeed, and created systems that multiplied their effort. Solomon had said it long before. The diligent, the fair, the generous build lasting wealth. Ask yourself, are you building wealth that will vanish with a storm, or wealth that endures? Are your finances guided by wisdom, patience, and discipline, or by impulse and desire for instant gratification? Because Proverbs teaches this truth. Money alone is not wealth. The real treasure is discipline, integrity, foresight, and the ability to manage both your resources and your desires. Now we come to a crucial point: faith, decision, and action. Proverbs and Napoleon Hill both make it clear, knowledge alone is useless without action. Wisdom without movement is like a seed that never touches soil. It cannot grow. Proverbs 3:6 says, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight." Notice the sequence: acknowledge, then act. Faith is not passive. It is a conscious alignment with a higher principle, followed by disciplined action. Hill called this organized planning and persistent effort. Decisions are the turning points of life. Every day you choose either to advance toward your purpose or to drift into distraction. Proverbs 4:26 says, "Give careful thought to the paths for your feet and be steadfast in all your ways." This is strategy, not just advice. Every step you take builds the foundation of your empire, your career, your life. Small, consistent decisions create momentum. Big, impulsive decisions often destroy it. Napoleon Hill emphasized the same. Success is built on definite decisions, repeated daily through action. The wealthy and influential are not those who feel like it, but those who act whether they feel ready or not. Faith without action is fantasy. Desire without movement is illusion. Thinking without doing produces nothing. The universe rewards persistence, discipline, and clarity of purpose. Ask yourself, are you letting indecision, fear, or comfort control your life? Or are you taking ownership of your path, acting decisively and building momentum every single day? Because this is the secret. Action aligned with wisdom, discipline, and faith produces results. Delay, hesitation, or distraction only compounds failure. Proverbs and Napoleon Hill agree. The future is shaped by what you decide and act upon today. Now let's bring everything together. Proverbs and Napoleon Hill teach that true transformation, the kind that changes your life, your wealth, and your influence, comes from aligning three forces: wisdom, discipline, and action. Wisdom shows you the path. Discipline keeps you on it. Action moves you forward. Without one, the system collapses. Without alignment, potential remains unrealized. Proverbs 11:2 says, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom." Humility is the starting point. It allows you to learn, to adjust, to receive guidance, and to grow continuously. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of lifelong learning. The mind that is open to a new idea never returns to its original size. Every successful person he studied, every great leader Solomon praised, shared one trait. They never stopped improving. They sought knowledge, controlled their thoughts, disciplined their actions, and aligned everything with a higher purpose. Proverbs also makes it clear that the journey is built step by step. Proverbs 24:27 says, "Prepare your work outside. Get everything ready for yourself in the field, and after that, build your house." Preparation first, action second, results follow. Hill called this planning and execution. Solomon called it wisdom. The principle is timeless. You cannot skip the foundation and expect lasting success. Ask yourself now, are your daily habits building a solid future or eroding it? Are your words, thoughts, and actions aligned with your highest vision or scattered and reactive? Because your life is the sum of your daily choices. Proverbs and Napoleon Hill agree, persistent, disciplined, wise action creates abundance. Lack of direction, impatience, and impulsivity create only chaos. Now imagine this: 1 year from today, living a life shaped by disciplined decisions, guided by wisdom and fueled by action. Imagine a life where your inner world governs your outer success, a life of peace, purpose, and lasting prosperity. This is not a dream. It is a choice, a decision you make today. Proverbs 4:26 reminds us, Give careful thought to the paths for your feet and be steadfast in all your ways. Every choice, every step, every action matters. The power is in your hands. The question is, will you act? Will you align your wisdom, discipline, and action to create the life you deserve? Because success is for those who decide, who persist, and who refuse to be distracted. Today is your day. Decide wisely. Decide with purpose. Decide to win.